Good morning and welcome to the Better Thyself segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. In our social relationship, wherever we may be, as a student, as an employer, as an employee, as a friend, as a husband, as a wife, as a child, as a parent, we are always discussing, talking, interacting. And one major aspect of interacting is asking questions. When we ask questions, they have three types of responses. Sometimes the interlocutor with whom we are talking may not respond at all. Sometimes he may be very nice and be able to talk to you and explain to you. And sometimes he would be irritated. Have you ever noticed why it happens? It is primarily because you have not asked the right question. Now, the right question does not mean the subject. It also means the tone and the tang of the question. The way you ask it, in which, how your tone is, what sort of a language you are using. A question is to elicit information, to enhance your knowledge, or to clarify some confusing thoughts. It can have various reasons. And we have to understand that the nature of this world in which we live is neither pleasant nor unpleasant. It is what it is. It's without labels, without bias. And if we continue to ask questions that interact without label, without bias, there'll be no problem. Nevertheless, our conditioning, right from the childhood, right from the infancy, makes the word appear in a particular way. The incidents that might be prompting the questions or the inquiry have no meaning by themselves, unless meanings are superimposed upon them by your thoughts. So, we normally superimpose or project our own mental image on the screen while asking questions, and also that projection is viewed by us. That superimposition is thought by us to be relevant to whom we are asking the question. Now, it's quite possible that the thought process that has made you project your vision may not be the same of your interlocutor. So, when that happens, the whole picture becomes distorted. And that's what happens 99.9% times. External situations are not the cause, but a reflection of what you hold within. No incident or situation is a problem by itself. It becomes a problem when we are viewing it through the filter of belief. And those beliefs are not only limited, but they are also limiting our mode of expression. So these beliefs, limited and limiting as they are, make our life almost a continuum of false hopes. And we go through it just like that, as you go through a mirage. If we have to see through the mirage, then we have to break through its very cause. And the background that makes things appear frightening need to be destroyed before the real intention can be gauged and understood. Now, how can you do it? By asking the right questions in the right form by asking the right question in the various situations, the questions that will lead you from obvious to the deeper reality of life. The most important thing is the level of your voice. But even before the level of your voice, is the question relevant? That's the first thing. You ask somebody a question which may not be relevant to his thought or his attitude. So naturally you'll get no response. Or the man might be irritated, man or woman, of course. So inquiry has to break through the illusion of your thought so that you can smile when faced with the illusion without getting deluded. So as I said, the first is the question's relevance. Then the purpose of the question. That's the most important thing. Are we asking a question to clarify our thought? Are we asking a question to widen our horizon? Are we asking a question to remove some confusion of minds? Or are we asking a question just to judge the other person? Now there's a different situation. You are appearing for an interview and the interview asks you a question. The purpose is to judge you. But you as an employee cannot ask a question from the interviewer so that you might be able to judge. However, you can always ask questions for eliciting information. Similarly, many questions do not appear to be questions. They are in reality expression of your thoughts. They are couched as questions. They're in fact loaded questions. And as such, these loaded questions, which in reality are exclamations, not questions, irritate the others. You have every right to your thought, but do you have a right to ask a loaded question from anybody? No. Howsoever close you may be, that would irritate. And people often say, well, what sort of a person he is? You ask a question and he's irritated. Person can be irritated because he feels that you have asked a question with an intent, which is not asking for the information. And you have a hidden intent we are not explicitly raising. So then the tone in which you are asking a question, is it a normal tone? Is it a supplicating tone? Is it a hectoring tone? All that makes a difference. When you are asking a question, except when you are appearing for an interview and interviewer asks you a question, that's a different thing. Or when you are at the giving end, that's a different thing. But normally when you ask a question, you are at the receiving end. And your tone has got to be conciliatory, normal, without a hint of pride or egoism. Now you would be asking, I'm making a statement that why I'm saying without egoism, because I always say ego is most important. Yes, ego is most important to you, but not to the others. And as long as your ego is not seen in that question, the answer would be there. I've had experience with some people who ask questions just for the sake of asking questions, and that irritates me. I never object to the questions, but I definitely am not a guinea pig for them to test their stupidities. So first was your method, your language, your tone, and style of asking the question, and the intent of asking the question. All these correlate. You cannot divorce one factor from the other. Nevertheless, the question has to be asked in a well-modulated manner. And most important, are you clear about what you are asking? The clarity of the question is one of the most important features. People are themselves confused, and so they cannot even formulate a proper question. And naturally, when you cannot formulate a proper question, the person from whom you are asking is not an astrologer. He will naturally respond in the same manner. A confused question would get a confused answer. Always. Why should your interlocutor try to understand your real meaning? Why should? As I said, you are asked at the receiving end. You have to make your question clear, lucid, easily understandable. Normally, we don't do that. And when we don't do that, what happens is we ask questions either for the sake of asking or only for the purpose of carrying on conversation. Why? I had an experience. We had gone to Bangalore to train IAS officers. And I was accompanied by my associate, who is a professor in Toronto University. So 5 days that we were conducting the seminars and the workshops, I was having a discussion with her after we would come, before we'd go in the car. The Saturday after the valedictory function, we were driving back to the hotel and she had to come back to Toronto. And I had to go to Delhi for a second conference. And would you believe, she asked a question. I said, look here, Professor, are you really mad? You are asking questions which have no meaning because the thing about you want to talk about is gone. And I have to think of the other things. You are still dwelling in the past. I do not dwell in the past. She said, how can you cut off? I said, why not? Life is not a series of gig lamps placed symmetrically, as Virginia Woolf said. So life has to be taken as it comes. And you ask questions which have no relevance. I mean, she was carrying on asking questions for the sake of carrying on conversation, which was of no interest to me because I was thinking what I'm going to do the next day in Delhi. So most important is the relevance, tone, tag, method. And if you can ask questions that way, then you would not irritate a person and you'll get what you want. People always feel that they have a right to ask a question. You do not have a right to ask a question. It's a privilege that you have. And that privilege must not be misused. All social intercourse, all human relationship is a privilege for each other. If I'm talking to you, it's my privilege to talk to you, and it's your privilege to listen to me. But if I misuse this privilege, naturally you'll be annoyed. No question should have a hectoring tone or a condescending tone. It should not be as if you are wanting to show off your own superiority or your own capability. There are times for everything. Do it when the time is there. But if you really want to utilize this art, the art of asking right questions, you would understand it if you apply it properly. You will not be caught up in an illusory maze. You will not be disheartened. And you will get the response what you expect. The train of life runs smoothly, provided you can understand and communicate. The base and art of asking questions is just the art of proper communication. You have to have empathy. You have to have understanding. You have to be clear. You have to be precise. Most important, be precise. I've seen the conferences, the seminars. People want to ask a question, and the question would be of 5 words, and they will editorialize for about almost a page length of introduction that's not required. And when I give a talk, I always tell, don't editorialize, ask a question, clear, what, where, when. I do not want, or any speaker doesn't want you to start telling your own experience. That is a seminar, that's not asking a question. So don't convert a question answer session into a debate. And if you can understand and ask the right questions, as I said earlier, you'll get the right answers, and you will maintain your and your interlocutor's equanimity. And that's what's required to be a better person, a better human being, a better social being. Thank you.